welcome to Weapon of Wednesday. Well, this is going to be an interesting Weapon of Wednesday because I'm going to try something new. I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter, and this time I'm going to go against bots so I can, perform a little bit better, so you might see the weapon better in action because people can sometimes be a bit annoying. Anyway, so I'm using the MR28, which is the first marksman rifle you can pick. Now, you might think, well, why use a marksman rifle? Well, they're not that bad, you know. I don't know if you're very familiar with marksman rifles, but I actually like them. But I know they can sometimes be a bit tricky. Because, you sometimes lose against those very fast automatic weapons. And every shot of a marksman rifle kind of counts. So if you miss, it could cost you dearly, which might not always be the same thing with other weapons, because if you miss with an automatic, you can just readjust yourself and even keep the trigger pressed, so you can just direct the damage towards the enemies. Seems I was just a little bit too late. So hopefully I can show you this time a little bit better how good a weapon can be. As you can see, at close range it can be pretty deadly. See, headshot is usually one kill. Well, it is one kill with this weapon. I just shot him. I think the first shot was in his head. So yeah, it's usually best to go for the headshot with this weapon, because it is really one shot and they're dead. I know sometimes with an SMG or with an assault rifle they can fuck you over with that. Well, let's just plant an IED. Now, as you can see, I use an IED. Now, why do I do that? Usually I do that, see, if I suspect someone walking behind me, it can be very useful to have an IED. Because before they can get you, they have to get past the IED. So it's probably smartest to put it in a narrow corridor. Even if they see it, they still have to shoot it or make it trip to make it go away. So that gives you a little bit more time to get away if you want to, or get into position if you want to ambush them. So that's always a good thing, I think, because if you are warned that there is an enemy on the way, then that's a good thing. Now, what type of attachments do I use on this weapon? I use a muzzle brake, and as you can see, I use the thermal hybrid scope. Now, why do I use a thermal hybrid scope? Well, I don't know if you know the FAL from Black Ops 2, but it was my favorite weapon. It was my favorite weapon from Black Ops 2. And I always put a hybrid scope on it so I could make kills at close range like this, or from long range like this. Now, this thermal part is something you didn't have, but it is a little bit, it comes in handy if you want to recognize someone at a long distance. See, one shot in his head, he's dead. And it's pretty useful, but I prefer to use the normal one, especially when it's at close range, because if I do it like this, see, I have to zoom in a little bit too close, and if someone is too close, I can easier move like this, because if you want to hip fire with this one, as you can see, it's a little bit more difficult to aim with hip fire with this weapon. It's not impossible, I'm just saying it's a little bit more difficult. So, what more can I say about this weapon? Well, it shoots pretty quickly, right? It has a pretty high fire rate for a marksman rifle, so you might like that if you're not that accurate, because usually marksman rifles mean you have to aim like this. If you can do this, make easy headshots, I'd say you should be okay. Like me. I mean, ooh, that was a close call. you want to be always prepared with this weapon, because your shots will count. If you mess around, you'll probably die. You know, if you're like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot like crazy.
Friendly air superiority inbound.
Oh, I have air support. I didn't even remember which ones I have on this one. Now, I usually use air superiority to destroy helicopters and stuff like that. So it does come in handy, but against bots, you usually don't face a helicopter unless they steal a supply crate from you. Okay, let's see. He's probably too scared. Okay. That was weird. It's almost as if he dropped down out of nowhere, but okay. Maybe he had a heart attack or something, but as you can see, of course it's not that difficult, because once again, I'm facing bots. Oh yeah, another thing. If you're that close to enemies, you might want to knife. I mean, against people that might be a little bit more tricky, of course, but let's not forget that it's always a good idea to have something ready, you know, like a knife, because you could use a secondary weapon, but I prefer, oh, chem strike, well, here we go. So, a secondary weapon usually comes in very handy, because it can get you that quick kill, but that means usually that you need reflex on it to get a quick switch between your weapons, because if you swap from a marksman rifle to a pistol the moment you see someone at close range, I don't think you get the time to do that. Oh, someone shoot me in the back. Well, that's also good. I mean, I have a support streak on this one, because I'm usually not that good with a marksman rifle that I can rack up long kill streaks. So I usually find it more useful to use a support streak. This way I can help myself and the team, which is always a good thing, because if everyone uses assault streaks, it's just silly. So let's not forget about the support streaks. But anyway, here you have a little bit of an idea how it works. So I'm gonna now zoom in a little bit on the attachments and what I use, and I'll try to keep it very short, because I have noticed that I sometimes talk a little bit too much about it. So, well, here it is, the MR28. It has a built-in foregrip for, which means you have less recoil if you shoot, which makes rapid fire more on target. You know, if you usually do that, well, even with especially with a sniper rifle, then you'll see your visor go all over the place. But with a marksman rifle, especially this one, it's more on target. Now, I use as I said before, I use a thermal hybrid scope, which is good, so I can use it at close range. If it's too close, you can always knife, or at long range, and especially campers that are hiding behind something or in a dark corner, you can spot them out with the thermal scope, which is very useful. Now, and of course, muzzle brake to give myself a little bit more range and increase the damage also a bit. So that's always a good thing, I think. Now, as I said before, also I use an IED. It's usually to protect my back. You know, if I have a feeling someone is walking behind me, of course you can sit and wait for them to come, but you can also throw an IED on the ground, and then if someone was walking behind you, you'll hear it go off. Whether they shoot it or they trip it, it doesn't really matter. You'll most likely hear it, so that's always a good thing. With perks, I use ready up, so after sprinting my weapon is ready quickly, because as you can see, I move around with a marksman rifle. I know some people prefer to camp with it. I prefer to move around. Moving around with a marksman rifle is more my thing, because I'm not really the type that wants to sit still and wait. So, sleight of hand. Let me zoom in a little bit more here. Sleight of hand for quick reload. Well, I think this is just pretty useful. You have a lot of bullets in one mag, but just to be safe, quick reload, so you don't get caught with your pants down, as in, oh shit, I just need to reload, and someone just came around the corner. So anyway, you're always right. Now, quick draw is something I like to use, especially for when they're further away. Then I can't hip fire them, so most times I have to look through my sight. Now, every little bit of time I can shave off the time I need to look through it is something which works for me, because I usually can't hip fire enemies at a distance. So, and they'll probably shoot the shit out of me the moment I wait too long. Now, amplify is something I like to use because I'm loud. I don't use a silencer on this because I want to have the damage output at maximum. So, instead of hiding, I'm in plain sight. As you can see, I also don't use any stealth perks on this, because I don't mind if people know where I am. That's why I have amplify, so I can hear if someone is near me, which is pretty useful. Now, of course, during this video I'm talking a lot, so you might you don't always hear that here, but I did hear a couple of times enemies around me, which is very useful because then I can, you know, focus on that. Bringing me to my last perk here, focus, which of course helps you keep the damage better on target, which is pretty useful. It's very good for people who are not that good at aiming or keeping the damage on target. So anyway, it's very useful. Now, and the strike package is this time the support one, because I want to use ballistic vest, so I you know, give a little bit of protection to myself, especially in those battles where they shoot at me first. Then I can take a little bit more damage, which sometimes helps me land a headshot on them or just shoot the shit out of them. So it's usually a good thing to have. And air superiority is really, for me, something I like to use when someone uses an annoying helicopter. Then I can shoot then that can clean that up for me. And of course an oracle, so I can find people better. So, and that also helps the team, by the way. So it's really something. This is more like a team-based loadout. Anyway, here you have it. A bit shorter, I think, and hopefully also useful. And I hope this was useful in some way, and helpful, of course. And, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, if you like this more than me playing against other people, because this doesn't really represent it as good as against people, but at least you get an idea how I'm using this weapon and how it would work. Of course, you're not gonna win every one-on-one fight, but I think you got a pretty good weapon like this. So hopefully it works out for you, and feel free to tell me about it. And I'll see you in the next video. So thanks for watching, and see ya.